Welcome back. We're with Roger Harrop, talking business, and we're up in your helicopter. I mean, people should get out more, shouldn't they? They get so bogged down in the detail and the misery of HR problems, the churn of staff, hyperinflation here in the Middle East. What do you do about your prices? You know, are people going to be able to buy your product if you add the rate of inflation plus some? And then the problem of lack of people. It's a real prescription for disaster currently, isn't it?
Not at all. It's great fun. If you're not enjoying every day, don't do it. That's the first thing. You've got to enjoy every day. And you know, there are all kinds of businesses out there that are doing incredibly well. And I mean incredibly well in terms of sustained profitable growth, because that's what's important. The easiest type of company to be in the sort of circumstances I see in the Middle East at the moment, of course, is being a busy fool. That's very easy to be. And I don't think you should be a busy fool.
So in other words, distract yourself with detail that you think is critical to the survival of the company, but it simply isn't.
Often, I'm afraid that's right.
And does that mean that business owners and managers have got to be better strategists? They've got to be refocused on the big picture?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, in my view. And this is a big generalisation. But all I would be saying is they've just got to take some time out to get up in my helicopter and just look at that business from afar and look at the strategy for the future. Because actually, running that business will then get much easier.
Now, some people may say, Roger Harrop, easy for you to say. You were the successful CEO of a large Fortune 100 internationally recognised company based in the UK, and you ran it for 7 years very, very successfully. Now, here you are running around talking to smaller businesses and lecturing and talking at them. But some people might argue that the realities are very different. First of all, tell me, what was it like being the head of a huge PLC?
It was exciting. It was wonderful.
How many staff, for example, on the payroll?
I can't remember, about 2,000, I think, something like that. The last, I have to be really honest with you, we ended up being taken over, and therefore we had, I don't know, about a year of all the machinations of what goes on in the City of London, and that isn't quite the same.
And that must be a big distraction.
It is, it is. I mean, very simply, your job as Chief Executive is to look after the shareholders' interest. Shareholders' interest might be best served by selling the business to somebody else. And I had a period where we had something like 22 different companies were wanting or thinking about buying us. My job was to try and sell the company to every single one of them. As you say, a massive distraction.
Because you're just not focused on the job at hand. You're
Right,
not
so.
focused on the sales.
Right, so.
You're not focused on the operation of the company.
Very difficult.
Very, very difficult. What of this market? What do you make of it? Because you're coming here increasingly.
Yep.
In fact, I think that you're here, what, a couple of times a year at least?
Or more than that. Every 2 or 3 months I'm here these days.
Is this a big market for you now? And is it a big market for the motivational guy?
I wish you wouldn't use this word motivational.
But you are motivational.
Well,
I've seen you.
Yeah, okay.
And you're fantastic.
But I think, you know, the sort of the terminology in the industry is that I'm a high-content speaker in the sense that I'm giving people stuff they're taking away. You know, for me, in fact, just last week I had an email, quite unsolicited email from a chief executive, and he said, Roger, I just wanted to tell you, we've just posted record results. That's essentially down to you. Thank you very much. And that's brilliant. That's the sort of thing I like to hear. Now, all that happened in that particular case, he came to a half-day workshop that I was running, and it just gave him some ideas. As you said earlier, John, none of it is rocket science, but it just allowed him to focus on the important things rather than the day-to-day.
So consultancy is a good thing for businesses?
Hey, it depends. I mean, what I do is, not only do I speak about it, but if companies want to, I also implement it as well. I've got some clients that I've been working with now for 5 years, and they won't let me go. I have to go back every 2 or 3 months just to sort of help them get the whole thing implemented, because they've seen that as important. Other companies don't. There may be other companies where I maybe just speak at a conference, and that's absolutely fine. Maybe do a workshop. That's fine, but what I do is both. I do the professional speaking side, and I also follow up if they want me to. As far as consultants generally are concerned, of course consultants give great value. The only advice I would give to people, though, is please use someone who's been there and done it. That's all I would say. It's very easy to get academic about business. It's very easy to make business more complex than I believe it is. And I'm trying to do the opposite all the time. I'm trying to demystify it, make it simple, and I want to do myself out of a job, basically. That's what I would like to do.
What about these guys who are running around getting MBAs? I remember MBAs, which were originally offered as BScs in the
That's
UK,
right, they were, yeah.
not MBAs, were like gold dust.
Yep.
And they were really the recipe to fast-track career growth. It seems now that MBAs are being given out like sweeties by all kinds of different organisations. First of all, has the MBA qualification become devalued to an extent, and is it going to help people move forward in their career?
Let me answer the second one first. I think MBAs cannot do any harm. But equally, there is no replacement for experience. There's no replacement for... I can remember when I was a young guy, I was very lucky. I was working for a company called English Electric, doesn't exist anymore. And the part of the company culture was, if you didn't spend a couple of years overseas, then you weren't going to make it. I spent 2 years in Mombasa. I was the boss man in Mombasa, building an extension to a power station. It moved me on so far. And that opportunity of running a business for yourself, I would argue, that's so invaluable. I would see that as more valuable than an MBA, but equally, I wouldn't devalue an MBA. They're worth having, but I take your point also, John. It depends where the MBA comes from, I think, and that just applies probably to most qualifications these days. You've just got to have a look at where it comes from to see how much value it might be.
And just touching briefly on the point that you raised about international experience, you know, this economy is driven by expatriates to a large extent. We're the technocrats,
Yep.
if you will. Are there opportunities for us back home, be it Australasia, be it Singapore, be it India? We have a huge Indian expatriate population here. Be it Britain? Because in the past, you've turned up in your home country and people have sidelined you because of your international Middle East experience. Is it different these days?
I think it is. I mean, I can really only perhaps talk for the UK in any detail, but I found it very interesting that over the last, how long, 10, 15 years, we've had a lot of people come into the country with nothing. We've had Ugandan Asians, we've had a lot of South Africans. These people are doing incredibly well in the country, and I see expats in the same light. I'm seeing lots of expats around now, people who've just spent, you know, maybe 2 or 3 years in Hong Kong or in Kuwait or wherever it might be. They're coming back to the UK, and I think these days they're seeing value, that they're being valued in the sense that they've had real experience of doing the job without all the, for want of a better term, the feather bedding that goes on, perhaps, back home.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's hope for us yet, and who knows, maybe I even may get a call from that Parkinson studio
You never
in
know.
London at some point. Roger Harrop, thank you very much for coming
My
on Face to
pleasure.
Face. And that's all for today's show. Do join me again soon on City 7. In the meantime, if you have any comments on the show, you can email them to face2face@city7tv.com. Until next time we meet, from me, John Dakin, and the entire Face to Face team, it's goodbye.